So what I'd love to start is where we go back down into the very first beginnings of the Guy Armitage story. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was that London Irish contract, the very first one when you start becoming a pro or development academy player.
Yeah.
What was the time like before that when you're just playing at school for fun? Obviously, your brothers are off doing their thing, but you're kind of watching that. What's it like at school? And then I suppose to that as well, playing rugby at school with that heritage from your brothers, does that like trickle down effect, and how does that influence the way you play rugby as a fun hobby at that time?
Um, I mean, there was a lot more pressure involved.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Brixton with my parents until I was 13.
Right.
Played for Devon under 15s at the time against Cornwall. And from there, someone from London Irish watched and said, "Oh, we want you to come do the goal group stuff." But I was living 4 hours away. One of the coaches that was doing some training at London Irish was also a teacher at Wellington College.
All right.
He was like, "You should try and get a scholarship here, a rugby scholarship. Then you could go to boarding school here, and then you could train up Irish in the week." So it's all this like these small parts like coming together for me to go up. And my dad at the time was like, "Well, obviously not forcing you to play rugby, but if this is what you do want to do, then this is probably the way to go." So yeah, it was at 13 when I basically made the conscious decision to pursue rugby as like, something I really wanted to do because I had to move away from home. But right from there, I came in with two other boys like in my school year,
Right.
like, just as rugby scholars. And from that point, it was I, we were in to make the rugby team better. It was
Mhm.
you're here to play rugby, so be good. It was like so they brought you in to make the team better.
Uh-huh.
Go on then.
Oh, was there like pressure from the rest of the team as well? Sort of like, let's see what these guys are about then if they're
Yeah, so there was obviously the small trials and like
Mhm.
that I had to do with like the captain and a couple of the other players, like one-on-one drills and passing and speed and everything else.
Oh,
Just like the measuring up to see like if I'd be any good or anything, and I'm like we're in then. But
that's
yeah,
how's that decision at 13 when somebody comes, you're gonna move 4 hours away and you're gonna do this, you're gonna come to because I don't know what your school was like before you ended up at Wellington College, but I imagine like if you take even so the only contrast I have here is we're just outside of Edinburgh.
yeah,
The schools in Edinburgh are lifetimes away from the schools we have here in rural Scotland. So I
yeah.
imagine it's quite a change, and you're just like the way people walk's different. That's what I find when I'm walking around these places.
So it's like Hogwarts. That was the comparison. And like, I remember my mates when they saw where I was going, started calling me Winston. Like it was a
Really?
yeah. They were like, "Oh, he's off to posh school." And I was like, fair enough.
Yeah, I've just got to take it. There's no defense for this one.
Yeah, but no. Every game from the moment I got to that school, like 13, 14, was I'd go to schools and they'd be like, "Oh, there's an Armitage playing. There's this, there's that. I've heard this, there's that. There's an Armitage." Like
Mhm.
it was a every school we went to, or the parents or whatever would mention, and I'd be like, "What? 13-year-old knows another 13-year-old from like another school?" It's like a bizarre kind of
That
like
is that is
yeah. When you're professional, you like name drop people, and you're like, "I've got so and so, I've got so and so," but at 13, you're like, "This is odd."
yeah. Yeah, I just want to play FIFA, guys. Come on, like, I'm here because I've been told I get to go to a nice school if I come here. I just want to play FIFA. It's that's I don't want to keep talking about your brothers because you're your own person in your own right. And if I wanted to talk to your brothers, I'd invite your brothers on. But I always find it really interesting when these external factors that only ever few people get to experience of having, like obviously Dylan and you've got Stefan. How does that affect the 14-year-olds when you're like, why are you talking about my brother? Like to me, he's just like they're just big bros. Like they're not Stefan Armitage and Dylan Armitage. As if I was to walk past them in the street, I'd be like, "Fuck me, that's Stefan Armitage."
Yeah.
Having said that, I was so steaming on New Year's Eve, I didn't notice Hamish Watson walk past me, but that was a different story for a different day.
I mean, just a normal sized bloke.
But no, he wasn't a normal sized bloke, but
Not at all.
I was just
Um,
Steven. I thought he's fucking massive.
yeah, must work in IT somewhere.
Yeah.
That's good. No, yeah, it's a bit of a weird one at that age,
Mhm.
but like to me, like watching London Irish from like 10, 11, going to see them
Mhm.
play, because you meet all the other players and then you realize they're normal people too.
Yeah.
So you just kind of around them, and then they treat you like their younger brother in a way because like I'm just at my family's house and they're at the family's house, and it's just it brings you into the world. And then everyone's like, "Oh, you met so and so." I'm like, "Yeah, he's a really normal bloke." It's like, yeah, it's like you're how I know my brothers. Like they're mates. How you'd be mates with someone else.
Mhm.
It's a weird insight that like they're not like superheroes or superhuman people. They're just normal
Mhm.
people. So
Uh,
when like they get criticism or anything else, then you're like you're just kind of abusing a normal person. It's a weird concept, but they're kind of like, ah, nah, because he's in the shirt, so it's fine.
yeah, it is. I mean, I'm guilty for it as much. If a player I support doesn't do as well, I'm probably. But it's another thing I find really weird about sport. Of we're never that quick to when somebody has a good game. It's almost like when somebody has that 10 out of 10, you're like, oh, that was nice. Forget about it. If somebody has that 3 out of 10 or that 4 out of 10,
Yeah,
the whole week until the next game is that person with the 3 out of 10.
yeah. Like we expected 10,
Yeah,
but
like we expect absolute perfection, and anything worse is not good enough.
we expected 10. You trained for a 10. How dare you give us a 3? like
Yeah.
and they're like, I kind of tried my best. Like obviously, like no one tries to drop a ball or like pick it straight out of touch or anything. They're like, sorry guys. Yeah,
I would love it if you came off if you God forbid touch wood if you did have a bad game and the media were giving you grief and you just like quote tweeted it and you're just like job done, like hand clap emoji, just you're like, that's exactly what we aim to do, guys. The plan went perfectly. We'll make sure we do it next week and get that 10 that you mean. Like,
yeah. Nah, it's bizarre because like these days everything's monitored. We're wearing GPSs, everything's
yeah,
filmed. Like they know how far we've ran. They probably like they know our heart rate. They've got everything up there.
yeah,
We review it in the week. Like, don't worry. Like, we know in the review that we're gonna get it. It's fine. Like don't it's not gonna go unnoticed. Don't think because you don't mention it, we're gonna just, brush it under the carpet.
no, you've got Big Derek in the stands that's not played rugby for about 30 years saying that guy's playing poorly, and we're like, we know, we'll see it.
I'm aware. I'm aware. It's my job.
I love that mentality of you of just the you're not shirking the responsibility. It's just like in the place we're supposed to be like I know where I need to hear the important information from. So this is not to
Yeah,
say it's not important, but it's not gonna linger with me.
yeah. Like you and me both know. We know I wasn't supposed to drop that. I'm sorry because I don't want to do it, but I'll be better next time because that's the plan.
That's the plan. Don't worry. If we run this move again and the exact same outcome happens, I will plan to catch it. Be
Yeah.
rest assured. Then you get that Irish contract. Was that a development contract or was that pro? And then how did your life change after that? Because you go from because what happens for a lot of people is you go from school, which is very regimented, and a lot of people go, "This is where you need to be on this day, do this thing, do that," and then a lot of people go out into the world of work and they go, "Oh, excluding the 8 hours I'm meant to be at work, I have a lot of time for myself." How does this then become a pro player contract where you're like, "Oh, you still need to be here and do this"? How does that change?
There's still like a full like school schedule. Like place you got to be, weigh-ins, and then different meetings. You got your weights, you got your training,
Mhm.
but like you kind of finish school and everyone's off on holiday. But then you start pre-season as soon as you physically can, like after your exams, because they're like, "Well, what do you need a holiday for?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, you're right, but I need a holiday."
I don't want to be on the beach. Yeah, you're right. I do want to be at preseason.
But yeah, you get handed this like kit bag of a year's worth full of kit, and then you're like, "This is what I've been working for." So like, yeah, it's basically
Yeah.
it was an academy contract,
Yeah.
living in a house with 3 other boys.
Right.
Um, yeah, it was pretty hectic. It's kind of a case of if a couple of people don't wash their dishes, you know about it. Playing like Jenga with the bin rubbish, it's
Yeah.
it's
You get this chore schedule ironed out pretty quickly. You're like, no, nobody's coasting.
yeah, you've lucked out if you get one clean freak, basically.
That's what you need to be. We had that problem in the flat. You just need to put a marker down. Like, no, this is the bare minimum we're expecting for living standards.
Yeah, like this
So
is
how is that lifestyle when you're on that account because you're on that academy contract and obviously it's like you're in with three other boys that you're good mates. You try and see them most of the day.
yeah,
How's that lifestyle when you're just like we're living like we're close to living the proper dream of the pro contract, the full contract, but you are also living the dream of you're training with the team, you're doing all this stuff, you're living with your mates. How's that lifestyle like when you're at that 18 year old?
it's it's cool. It's different because everyone, like all your mates are off to uni.
Hmm.
So you train over the summer and everything else. Then it gets to September and your season's starting, and all your mates are going to freshers, and you're like, I can't do that.
No,
you like,
did you not try it? You're just like I'm just gonna take the Wednesday off for the sports night.
yeah, every now and then because some of them are like a week long, 2 weeks long, and then you're like, you can just drop into one, say hi. But,
just show face.
yeah,
promise I won't wear any kit so like the badge won't be visible.
but otherwise you're just yeah, you're into it. You're into it full
Mhm.
time already because you're there must have been like 7 of us in the academy.
Mhm.
So you're just training with the first team. So you're in this
Mhm.
world straight away. You need to get up to speed. They're trying to make you bigger because you're basically still a boy.
Yeah.
You just got to get up to speed, and you're just settling into a new way of playing. Like as a back, you just got told like you need to tell them where they need to go. I'm like, that's a 34-year-old man with 3 children. I'm like, I'm 18, just left school, and you want me to just shout at him because he's in the wrong position? They're like, yeah. I'm like, right, okay then.
Cool.
Weird world we're living in here.
Oh, I don't think as a forward, I could sympathise exactly with the forwards of why they wouldn't be keen for that. But at the same time, I understand completely why a back would be get out of the way, unless
Yeah,
you know how to run the infamous dummy scissors pop and then throw a miss three or get out of the way.
yeah, that's a rare breed you're talking about, I think.
The tag furlongs of the world.
Yeah.
Slotted at 10. That's the dream for this year's Six Nations, but that's by the by. You can tell my fantasy team's going to go well if I slide him at 10.
Yes.
So I want to talk because I find this so interesting just from a nerdy individual point of view. The transition year, like you said, they're so focused on making you bigger, stronger, faster. How does can you briefly sort of sum up that year of just how it sort of looks for you? Like, is it because it probably doesn't follow a normal year of the fitness of preseason, get you into the playing shape. There's probably like a much longer development process for
Yeah. Everyone comes in like all sorts of shapes.
that.
Shapes and sizes coming out of school. The odd couple are already man size, and they're like,
Yeah.
right, just focus on skills for you. Like I wasn't I wasn't skinny, but they were like, we can make you bigger. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right. So you just like doing weights twice a day,
Right.
like you're doing 8 weight sessions a week, which is like
Christ.
you're basically knackered all the time. So like eat more, sleep more, do more weights, and then you're just getting bigger. Everyone's finding it funny because we're all in the same position. We're like, I've put on a stone. Like, what's happening?
I've put on a stone in lean mass. Like, how does
Yeah.
this
I
happen?
was like, I'm so tired. I'm like
Wow.
carrying this new weight, and then they need to get you used to that weight. So you're doing fitness at the same time. You're like,
Mhm.
you made me heavier. This running's so much harder now.
I was gonna say like because like even your ankles and your knees like carrying that extra stone and then that like especially for yourself like, as a back the turn of pace is so important because it's not just for listeners who don't watch that much rugby on this podcast. There's so little of just straight running. There's so much zigzag back and forth, up down. So how do you train like the knees for that? So is your training mostly like bodybuilder, almost like to get the weight on, or is there still a lot of plyometrics and stuff to keep you like
Um,
springy?
there's a bit of everything. Yeah.
Mhm.
So you'd have like upper body session in the week, lower body
Mhm.
session, like a power session. So there's more like box jumps and everything else. And
Mhm.
then depending on your coach, like your strength and conditioner, it's a lot of balance work and strengthening in the joints.
Mhm.
Yeah, it just depends what stage of your career you're in. So like if you're a bit older, you would do more stretching. That was some advice someone gave me when I was 18, 19. If I give you one bit of advice is to stretch every day. And I laughed. I was like, I think it's just because you're old. But like now I'm like, should have listened to it.
Should have stretched.
Now I stretch every day.
I find it's when you know when you start doing the golfer pickup of something when the one leg comes up at the back and you feel yourself sort of wheeze a bit. That should have stretched.
Yeah. Yeah, because boys would just strap their ankles and just strap whatever wasn't strong enough. And he's like, that's not good long term. I'm like, okay.
Magic tape solves all.
Yeah.
That's probably if you had to do a rugby quote that you could find in every club, you'd be like, "Magic tape solves all."
Like I don't need to strengthen this. I'll just tape it. I'll tape it in position.
right knee's not as strong as it used to be. Just tape it.
Just
Oh
tape it.
god, tape it.
Yeah. But no,
So
definitely stretching.
I might just name that the title of the podcast. Guy Armitage tells you to stretch.
Yeah.
Refuse to fail, season 1.